This is Mr. Riley, and I'll be giving you a demonstration of Lab 3 using auto scaling. So what we're going to do is basically going to go and we already got a machine set up called the command host, and we're going to set up CLI and create a website with that CLI in CLI, and then we're going to replicate that, make a web server. We're going to do that in CLI. Copy the AMI, launch a template, create an auto scaling group, create a scaling policies, and a load balancer. So let's do a lot of the administrative stuff first. Let's go to details, show, and then I'm going to copy all this information here, put it in a notepad. Going to download the PPK. And then we're going to go into the AWS console, look at EC2, and then we're going to instances and find the command host. Command host, get the public IP address, and we're going to SSH in with PuTTY. Set the connection to 30. Import the credentials. Accept EC2-user. And we're in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little larger here. Okay. So now that we're in, I'm going to scroll past all the PuTTY part. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create a new instance. So first they have us type in more user data, and you can see the script they already have there. It's a file that was built into the but at the bottom there, you'll see this piece of code here, find whole name root. And basically what it does is it does a stress test on this server that we're going to bring up. So the next thing we're going to do is, I already did this, it tells you in step 27 to copy all this. Well, here, we're going to copy this script, and we're going to insert the, well, let me put on word wrap. Okay, it is word wrap. Okay. So if you go along here, you'll see AMID, which we need to replace with the real one that was made during the lab setup. Okay, and as we go along, security group. Replace that with security group, the HTTP access right here in brackets. And then the subnet ID and where we're going to place this. When we run this code, it will actually report back, as you can see in here, output text, query, instant ID. We want to keep that because we're going to use it for later scripts. So let's go ahead and copy this, run it in here, and there's our instant ID. So it actually produced a machine. Control C. I'm sorry. And then we'll paste this in here because we will need it. Okay. So when you come down here, you can actually see the status as it's being created by running this command here with the and replace the instant ID with this. Copy. And basically, it's saying it's being created. Actually, I think it created already. So now we want to see if the website is working. So we're going to go ahead and this script here will actually give you the DNS name. If you look at the script, describe instance, instant ID. Let's go ahead and paste that in there. Because the instance in question is that one. And they're going to query the reservations instance interface associate public DNS name. So let's go ahead and copy that. Put this. No. And we'll paste that in there. And here's our DNS name. Now you don't use the quotes, so highlight everything but the quotes, hit enter to make a copy, and then paste and go. And there's our website. Now don't hit stress test yet. We'll be doing that later on, okay? So, and if you use that same thing with slash PHP, you get the same thing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create a custom AMI. In this procedure, you will create a new AMI from the EC2 instance you just created. Use the AWS EC2 create image AWS CLI command to create a new AMI based on the instance you just created. And then go ahead and replace the new instant ID with the one that was created. So I don't know what happened there. Copy the instant ID over to that. And there, now you'll see that it actually has an AMI number there. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we created a web server and we created an AMI from that. We made a copy of it. So now we're going to go in and create the auto scaling environment where we do the load balancer, auto scaling group, and launch template. But we're going to do that from the console. So I'm going to minimize these for a second. And so we're going to go to the EC2. Now let's look at instances real quick. You'll see that a web server base image, that's what we just created from that. And from there, we created the AMI. So let's go ahead and scroll down. You'll see create load balancer. So load balancers, create load balancer. Now this will be an application load balancer because it's a web server. And we're going to call it web server load balancer. It'll be internet facing IPv4. We're going to be using the lab VPC. And for these two, we're going to use the public subnets because, and you want it in two availability zones. Not private, public, sorry. Okay, security group. We already created one, or one was created for us, HTTP access, and we don't want to use the default one. So there we go. And then we're going to listeners. But before we can do this, we have to create a target group. So click there. It will be for instances. And you have other choices there, of course, but that is for different labs. So and we're going to name this one Web Server App. It'll be in the lab VPC. This will be index PHP. Advanced health settings. Healthy threshold will be 2. Interval will be 10. We're speeding it up a little bit so we can do this for the lab. Save a little bit of time. We're going to go ahead and click next and register the targets. We're not going to register them at this time, but they'll be registered. So create. And then now we have our target group, Web Server App. Now return to the previous browser. Now if we hit refresh, now that we have our target group, we'll be able to see the Web Server App. So it should be listeners HTTP 80 with the Web Server App. And now we can go ahead and create our load balancer. View load balancer, and there we got it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and create a launch template, and that's under instances on the left column here. Launch template. I think that's an artifact from when I was practicing the lab. I am going to delete that before I start. Okay. Create launch template. Template name. Web server launch template. The AMI we're going to use, if you click on my AMIs, we only have one web server. Okay. It'll be a T2 micro. Network settings. We choose the 2 private subnets. Enhanced details, cloud, so no, not network configuration. Down here, advanced details, we're going to basically detailed CloudWatch monitoring, enable, and create launch template. Okay, there's our launch template. Okay, let's go ahead and create our auto scaling group now. Auto scaling group. Create auto scaling group. Give it a name. It'll be called web server AS group auto scaling. And the template we're going to use, the web server template we just created. Go ahead and click next. Okay, so we're going to choose the lab VPC. Availability zones and subnets. We want the two private ones. Private subnet 1, private subnet 2. Okay, then next, and a little bit attach an existing load balancer. Web app server, okay. In the enable group metrics from CloudWatch. Next. And then we're basically going to set what is our desired number we're going to have spread out. So desired number is 2. The least we want, minimum capacity be 2, and max will be 4. So it can scale up in and out to that. And we're going to set target tracking scaling policy. And we're going to set the value to 45. Choose next. We're not going to add any notifications, but we will add some tags. So name, and the value will be web app. Okay, next, web app, and create auto scaling group. This is the review. And we created the load balancer, the launch template, the auto scaling group. So now we're going to verify the auto scaling configuration. In this task, you will verify that both AWS configuration and the load balancer are working. You will pre-install a script on one of our servers that consumes CPU cycles. And we saw that. That was a bit of code at the very beginning. So let's go to instances. And I'll refresh. And as you see, some web apps are, these are starting to come up. Web app, initializing, web app. That one's initializing. I'm going to pause and let these fully come up. Okay, let's go ahead and see how this is going now. So we have our web app instances, and they're there. And let's go ahead and go to target groups real quick. Target groups, web server target group, and they're both healthy. You see that? So both those instances. Nice. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to do is go to load balancers, choose our load balancer, and get the DNS name off of it. Copy that. We'll go ahead and paste and go. And we're going to start the stress test. So it's going to generate a load. And now we're running 2 right now. That's what we want, our desired capacity. Eventually, it'll be overloaded and it's going to generate a couple of more machines to help share that load. And so it's going to take a little bit. So I'm going to basically, well, let's take a look at the target groups. No, not, yeah, target groups. And let's see if they're still healthy. And as this goes on, we'll do a refresh every so often. And these will actually turn unhealthy, and then they'll basically kick in some more help. Pause for a minute, and then I'll show you when it comes up. Okay, actually, if you go into the auto scaling group, here, I'll go ahead back in here, and go to the auto scaling group and click on activity, you can see the initial startup, but now it's starting to, the pre-in service, basically it's starting to set up a third machine. So if you go to instances, refresh, now you see a third server. So it's going to spin up more as more are needed. So, and if you continue the stress test, you could do that. So basically that completes the lab, and good luck.